Hey, soulmates and beaders. I know you guys love the beading edition, and this one is for you. Today we're going to be covering the 3D projecting beads. Stay tuned if this is what you're interested in. So for this beading, I used different types of beads and embellishments. I used crystal beads. These beads are sold on lines like this. This is what they look like when they are on the line, and then they reflect and have luster. So I used two different colors. We used the pearl bead, which is medium size, and then we used a stopper. We used our plier, and also we used two types of copper wire, but this is a non-tarnished copper wire. It is 25 meters thick. And then we, of course, need our scissors. This copper wire can be cut with scissors. And then we also used a rhinestone cord. I think that's what it's called. You'll see it as we progress. So that other copper wire right there is the other type of copper wire I used, and I used that one for the bigger pearls. This is not the biggest size of pearl beads, but this is, I used the medium size. And then this is the rhinestone cord I talked about. It's shiny, has a lot of tiny stones, and it is quite sticky, but I still use the glue to attach it to the copper wire, and I'm going to explain it as I go. I used my T9000 glue. You can also use your E7000 glue. Any glue that works for you will be fine. And then this is the other copper wire that I used. So you can either use your scissors to cut the copper wire, or you can use your plier, whichever one works for you. But for this thickness of copper wire, my scissors was able to cut through both of them. So here I'm just measuring, the amount of copper wire that I need. But for this illustration, I want to just use a little bit of the rhinestone cord so that you would see it properly. So here I just applied my instant glue to the rhinestone, and then I gently placed the copper wire along, the area where I had spread my glue, and then I placed it and pressed it together just so that it could stick. And when I was done, I went ahead to cut off the excess copper wire, and this was what it looked like at the back. Now for this other bead, the crystal bead, I used this non-tarnished copper wire. So these are the two copper wires I used. The one on the right is thicker than the non-tarnished one, which is coiled on, that black thing right there. So I used the curved one, the one that was coiled, because it's thinner, and then it doesn't break easily. But this other one can break if you're not careful. And this is the stopper. I'm going to put some on my hand so you can see, what it looks like. They are really tiny metals that have holes in between them. So how it works is that you will slide, you would use your plier to press it when you're done, but you're going to slide the copper wire through the hole when you're done, just in the same manner that you put the beads, right? So you're going to start by placing the stopper in it. Sorry that it didn't show, but what you're going to do is press the stopper using the plier, and it is going to stop any bead from passing through. So it's like you're pressing the metal to now just be, just perform the job of a stopper. So instead of it being round, it will now be flat. That way the bead won't be able to slide through from that end. So after putting the stopper, you're going to pass a bead through, and then you're going to pass another stopper. When you put the stopper, you're going to use your plier to press it as well. The whole idea of doing that is just to trap the bead so it doesn't move up or down. It will just be firm and it will be stuck on that spot. So if you notice the video, I kept skipping because some parts of it were not in view. The camera wasn't capturing it. So I'm just going to explain as much as possible so that you would understand properly. So it's just like a case of bread and butter, where the stoppers are the bread and the pearl beads are the butter. So it's like a stopper, a bead in between, and another stopper so that it doesn't move. I hope that makes sense. So you will just keep creating space in between, the intervals. You would leave enough space so that they are not jam packed and they come out like this, the way you're seeing it here. So remember, it is one stopper, a bead, and another stopper so that it is stuck. You leave space as much as you want to. I used about 1.5 inches interval between the beads, just so that I could get that result that I have there. And then notice that I was using the tip of the plier to press the stopper, not the bottom part. The bottom part of the plier is to cut the copper wire, while the tip of the plier is to press the stopper together. So you use this bottom part when you're done to cut the copper wire. Make sure that you don't make your copper wire too long so that your bead doesn't bend, because the weight of the bead can bend the copper wire. So just keep them as short as possible. Don't make them so long. Maximum should be about 8 to 10 inches. And then this procedure is for the crystal bead now. So I'm starting again using my stopper, and then remember I have two colors of crystal beads, but for this I'm using the darker color. If you look well, you'll see the lighter red color right there. So what you want to do is just to continue passing your crystal beads like so, and then when you reach your desired length, make sure you have enough space so that you can place your copper wire without struggling with space, your stopper rather, without struggling with space. And then you're going to hold it like this so that there's no space between the crystals and the copper. And then you're going to use your plier to press down like so. And then when you press it properly, that's it, you're done. All you have to do is now use your plier to cut off the excess copper wire when you are ready. So now this is how you achieve the three types of beads I used. This is the crystal, and then this is the other color of the crystal, and then we have the rhinestone cord, which we have already put the copper wire on, and we have the pearls, which we have already trapped using our stopper, our bead stopper. So you will do as many as possible so that you can stack them on the clothes and attach them. So here I'm just cutting off the excess copper wire using my plier. For this thickness of copper wire, you can use your scissors. So I'm using my curved needle to create a loop. When you create your loop, you're going to leave it unfinished, like you're going to leave it still open, and then you're going to slide your bead in, and it's going to hold down in between the beads. That's how you're going to attach it. And make sure that you leave a distance between where the level where you're putting it first and the top part of the dress, so that you can hold it firm. If you put it at the top part of the dress, it's not going to stand, because it's just going to be at the topmost part of the dress. Is not going to stand at all. So what you want to do is, from that bottom, you're going to keep holding the bead down as you progress upwards, right? I hope that makes sense. So all of them are not going to start from the top of the bustier part of the dress is going to start from about 3 inches downwards, and then you're going to progress upwards, holding down the beads like I did here. So please kindly pay attention so that you would see the process of holding them down. And then the thread, I used an invisible thread just to hold them down so that the thread wouldn't be visible. So just continue moving upwards, and when you get there you can either knot your thread or jump to another side where you have to place your beads. At some point you might have to tack some of the beads together so that they can all support themselves to stand erect, right? So this is me just going downwards again so that I can hold down the other leg of the crystal bead. Notice how heavy it is and how I'm trying to spread the distance between them so that it can stand properly. For some of them I had to attach them to another bead just so that they could all support themselves to stand. Yeah, so you just continue this procedure until you achieve, what you want to achieve. Just continue spacing them out. Make sure that both legs are not together. If not, they wouldn't stand well. The only one that could stand well without the legs being apart was the rhinestone cord, and that's because it is not heavy. But the beads were quite heavy, and then also make sure that your beads are not so long as well, because the longer the bead, the harder for it to stand. So when you have a case like that your bead is really heavy to stand, what you want to do is now attach it to another erect structure, like maybe the rhinestone. You just use your what's it called, your invisible thread to hold them together like I did here. So like this one that has the pearls now, at some point I attached it to the rhinestone cord just to help it stand better.